Dr. Loretta Sage writes romance adventures centered around a fictional heroine, Dr. Angela Lovemore, and her romantic interest, Dash McMahon. To promote the latest book on Lovemore, her publisher, Beth Hatten, insists that Loretta embark on book tour with Alan Caprison. The book covers model for Dash, despite her reclusiveness since the death of her husband. After the disastrous start, mostly due to the popularity of Alan's Dash persona, Loretta is taken by Abigail Fairfax, a billionaire, who realizes that Loretta based her books on actual historic research she did with her late archaeologist husband. Fairfax has discovered a lost city on a remote Atlantic island and is convinced the Crown of Fire, a priceless treasure, is located there. When she declines to help decipher an ancient map to the treasure, Fairfax, fearing an active volcano will destroy the site, chloroforms and takes Loretta to the island. Elaine, who is secretly enamored with Loretta, witnesses her kidnapping. He recruits Jack Trainer, a former Navy SEAL turned CIA operative, to meet him on the island and coordinate a rescue. Jack, with no assistance from Elaine, breaches Firefox compound and frees Loretta, but is apparently killed before they can make it to the airport, forcing Loretta and Elaine to escape into the jungle. Loretta and Elaine spend a day fighting off Fairfax men before reaching a nearby village, where upon hearing a folk song from a local, Loretta deduces that the crown is hidden in a synod in a jungle. Before they can leave, however, Fairfax captures her again, so a chase by Elaine to save Loretta ensues. The two are then forced to share the treasure's location with Fairfax. Upon reaching the location, they discover the tomb is not a monument to Taha and Kalame's power, but a hiding place for the queen to grieve for her husband. Her crown of fire was made of red seashells gathered by him as a sign of his love for her. The actual treasure of the legend was not a priceless jewel, but the inseparable love between the king and the queen. Infuriated, Fairfax forces Loretta and Elaine into the tomb as the volcano erupts, but Raffi, one of Fairfax's men, has a change of heart due to the cruelty he suffered from Fairfax and leaves a crowbar to help them escape before abandoning Fairfax on the island. Matt arrives with the local Coast Guard and Fairfax is arrested. Loretta's next book, based on her adventure with Ellen, is a hit and they share kiss at the end of their next book tower. Upon first impression, The Lost City might sound like the title of the next installment in the Uncharted video game franchise or possibly Dwayne Johansson's next swashbuckling action-adventure trip. But beyond that, Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum star. The Lost City attempts to be everything that an action-adventure can be and yet evoke laughter on the tropes utilized abundantly across the genre. The romance adventure novel writer Loretta Sage, Sandra Bullock, finds her career in a downfall after she chose to lead the life of a recluse post her archaeologist husband's death. Although her novels centered around DJ Angela Lovemore and her lover Dash McMahon remains a hit among the writer's fans, with the cover model for Dash, Alan Caprison, managing to cultivate quite a fan base for himself. But in reality, Alan is the antithesis of the book's character Dash. While he still retains the charm and looks of the character in the real world, he is anything but the adventurous, macho, and daring alpha male in the world outside of Loretta's adventures. In the mindset of a book tour for her latest book, Loretta is kidnapped by billionaire Abigail Fairfax, who has discovered the lost city Loretta has written about in her latest book, The Lost City of D. Elaine, forced by her feelings for Loretta, hires Jack Trainer and embarks on a journey to rescue Loretta, with the intention of proving that he can be much more than just the cover model Loretta takes him to be. The Lost City banks its money on the opportune situation that the setting of an action-adventure movie presents with cool action sequences, where the dilemmas and the obvious challenges faced when being presented with a questionably baffling mystery. The movie ticks every box on the checklist for an action-adventure, but it's the way it approaches the genre is where things start taking a different turn. Beyond the basic premise, the movie does not really provide a lot of adventure to ride upon. Instead, it focuses on poking fun at the obvious plops led by similar moves on the bandwagon of the action adventure genre. In that aspect, more than an action adventure, The Lost City treads on the path of a mass comedy with near perfection, evoking some heartwarming conversations between the two protagonists as they transform into different individuals while on a journey inside a jungle on a remote island in the Atlantic. While the movie does not throw curveballs when it comes to the story or the execution, it's the comedic respite and awkward conversation that arouse out the situation at hand that add to the entertainment presented by this film. The most attractive aspect of the movie is not its story, action, suspension, and visuals. What keeps the machine going in the Lost City is the aura of the characters who grace the roles and share incredibly fun chemistry with each other. The focus of the story remains momentarily on solving the potentially great mystery at hand, while engaging deeply with the evolving relation the characters share on their journey into the unknown. Comedic exchanges click yet hilarious banter and paving the way for situations to emerge that resonate with most of the action adventure movie lovers proves to be the strength of this out-charming, frequently hilarious and decently adventurous action adventure movie. Channing Tatum's Ellen, a young model trying to follow his dreams and fit into the mold, provides the unexpected travel partner to an uptight novelist who mostly looks down upon at her own work. Both sometimes discover something new in themselves and each other as they find a way to escape a hilariously menacing villain who has been suffering from his own insecurities as his father gave away all the property to his brother. Followed by his set of main characters are a bunch of uniquely different ones who add their own tone to the humor. A highly motivated publisher, a curious social media manager, a local henchman, and an eccentric pilot contribute generously to the hilarious action centered around the odd couple. What pulls back the potential of this film is the lack of the novelty in the presentation. While the witty dialogues and banter provide fun and interesting moments to enjoy, the lackluster and simply mystical plot with a predictable storyline is not that one might keep the onlooker hooked and wanting for more. The brilliantly energetic and exciting beginning, thanks to a cameo by Brad Pitt, meets a rather underwhelming end. The nature of events proves rather inconsequential, and the feeling left at the culmination of an adventure, an unsatisfactory one. The poorly done CGI does not work magic either, especially at the moments where the character on screen is staring at the picturesque beauty of scenery around with a expression of perpetual awe, without any of the emotion reaching the viewer who is looking at something that looks like the indoors of a cheap attraction in an amusement park. The movie, like Lost City, will always retain its charm because of its straightforward nature of handling its characters and action, without any pretentiousness of the action adventure genre holding it back. The markers have devoted their attention to presenting a fun, enjoyable, and occasionally lost in the characters it hosts inside rather than the plot. The film really believes that unprepared characters put in seemingly tough situations often end up creating moments of laughter and love, having some protagonists and a bunch of supporting characters who barely know what they are actually doing. Throughout the course of a story, bearing a couple of moments adds to the freshness presented by the lost city in a gratifying manner. Undoubtedly, the story is predictable, lacks novelty, and feels like a lost opportunity in creating something that could have potentially utilized the marvelous talent available. But despite its many shortcomings, The Lost City will strike a chord with those looking for a fun and adventurous romantic comedy that does not take itself too seriously too often. Upon first impression, The Lost City might sound like the title of a next installment in the eye-catching video game franchise, or possibly Dwayne Johnson's next swashbuckling action-adventure trip. But beyond that, Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum's terror, The Lost City attempts to be everything that an action-adventure can be and yet evoke laughter on the tropes utilized abundantly across the genre. So this movie is about a romance adventure novel writer, Loretta Sage, finds her career in a downfall after she chooses to lead the life of a recluse post her estranged husband's death. Although her novels centered around Dr. Angela Lovemore and her lover Dash McMahon remains a hit among the writer's fan, with cover model for Dash, Alan Caprison, managing to cultivate quite a fan base for himself. In reality, Alan is the antithesis of the book's character Dash. While he still remains the charm and looks of the character in the real world, he is anything but the adventurous, macho, and daring alpha male in the world outside of Loretta's adventures. The movie, like Lost City, will always retain its charm because of its straightforward nature of handling its characters and action, without any pretentiousness of the action-adventure genre holding it back. The makers have devoted their attention to presenting a fun and smart story that evokes interest in the characters it houses inside rather than the plot. The film really believes that unprepared characters put in seamlessly tough situations often ended up creating moments of laughter and love. Having someone protagonist, a bunch of smarting characters who barely know they are doing their best, adds to the freshness prepared by the Lost City in the gratifying manner. Undoubtedly, the story is predictable, lacks novelty, and feels like lost opportunity. But despite its many shortcomings, The Lost City will strike a chord with those looking for fun and adventurous romantic comedy that does not take itself too seriously too often. So this story, it feels like a lost opportunity in creating something that could have potentially utilized the marvelous talent available. But in this movie, the characters, now that they are doing throughout the course of the story, bearing a couple of moments add to the